Hey guys, Mr. Mini Painter here, and today I'm painting these Fell Wargs from the Hobbit movie, the Lord of the Rings Middle-earth strategy battle game by Games Workshop. I had these lying around for way too long, so it was time for me to paint them. And I'm going to show you how I did it. So as you see here, I base coated it with some gray primer and added some modeling sand to the bottom. I added some stones here and there. You can make it just the way you like it. I like doing that up front, so before you start painting, otherwise you create a big mess and you have a finished model and probably or maybe damage it. So best to do it first. I'm gonna show you how I did this one. I painted all 6 at once, but I'm gonna stick to this model to show you how I did it. These Fell Wargs, they really look menacing, and I really wanted to paint them for a long time, so here's how I did it. I started with some rhinox hide to cover the entire model. I could have used maybe a spray paint, but I didn't have a brown one, so just did it by hand. You get something like this. Make sure it dries, and we're going to continue with the next color, which is Black Templar. And Black Templar I used for the manes and the furry parts of the warg. There is some fur on his back, his tail, of course the manes, a bit on his cheek. So just go nuts, and we're gonna mix and blend those colors together afterwards. So you don't have to be too precise, but please stick to the furry parts and leave the parts where there's no fur nice and brown. So once dry, you get something like this, and it looks amazing already. That's the fun part. With contrast paints, you get immediate results. Next, I created a wash with some Gorthor Brown and Lamium Medium. And the reason I mixed it together is that you can apply it as kind of a wash. And what you do here is basically pull the paint towards where you want it to be the brightest, so where you want the new color to be the most present. So when you pull it away from up to down, you get a nice transition from a dark skin to a lighter skin on the belly. Same goes for the paws, his head. So apply it wherever you want the skin to be a bit lighter. Then I'm going to use Rhinox hide again and a dry brush to blend those colors together a little bit more. Make sure that there is practically no paint on your brush when doing so you get a nice natural transition and no paint strokes on your model in this phase. Then we're going to do the same process again with Baneblade Brown, a bit brighter, mixed with Lamium Medium, and apply it as a wash again, but focus on even lower parts, so just the bottom part of the paw, maybe a little part of the belly, but lower than before, and you get some nice transitions from dark brown to light brown, as you can see here. Then I used some rock art flesh to highlight the very tips of the paws, the front of the paws, add some highlights on the knees, etc. Very, very tiny parts, and do the same on the face. Not really a face, right? Snout. Or what does he have? He's a wolf. He's a warg. I then took some Steel Legion drab and dry brushed the manes on top to give him a little bit of extra color. Steel Legion drab, you can maybe use Xandri dust even if you want it to be more bright. This way you add a little bit of color to the model, otherwise it's just very dark. But of course you can do it any way you want. I really like the effect of brown on brown on brown, because it's basically very monotone but also very colorful at the same time. Next we're focusing on the mouth of the Fell Warg. Some of them have their mouth open wide, showing some teeth and tongue. The other ones are closed, so with those just focus on the gums, the lips maybe. but for the rest of ones, take the tongue and the inside of the mouth as well. Don't worry about the teeth too much, we're gonna do them later. Now here I mixed some Screamer Pink with Lamia Medium and did the inside of the ears to give them a nice, really bright pinkish tone. You can do so with the bottom of the paws if you want, or the belly, but I stuck to just to the ears with this one. Then the ever so difficult eyes, Palette Witch Flesh. Just hold your brush like this and move it from left to right or the other way around. Horizontal movements is the best way to go when painting those tiny eyes. And use a very fine tipped brush. The size of the brush doesn't really matter. Then Corvus Black to create a nice matte black nose. If you want like a wet dog's nose, you can go for Abaddon Black maybe. And for this warg I didn't want to. I wanted to be very subtle and blend in with the rest. Then we're gonna highlight those pink parts with more pink horror, to create some extra highlights on the gums that are sticking out from the fangs, the tip of the tongue, or the side of the tongue maybe. Get some nice highlights, and then wash everything with some Carbro Crimson. The teeth of this warg I picked out with some Xandri dust, a nice yellowy look. I wanted to give him some filthy teeth. They don't have to be clean and bright and shiny. And to make them a little bit more sharper, I just gave the tips of the teeth some Screamer Skull highlighted. Just the tips to the front of the teeth to make them a bit more sharper. Some Null Oil I used to create some very fine lines in between those paws. It's black, but it's a bit translucent, so it's a perfect way of adding some extra details here and there. And then I added a little yellow shade with some Yandan yellow on the eyes. I thinned it down very much because I don't want to have him I don't want him to have yellow eyes, but just a tiny yellow glow. You know what I mean? And of course the final detail is the pupil, Abaddon Black, to really finish it off. Final detail, the base. Some Agaros Dunes I used, Citadel contrast paint. And if you think it's too bright, you can darken it down by adding some darker tones to it. So for example, some Cyber Brown or something like this. The rocks I painted with Mechanicus Standard Grey and highlighted those with some Administratum Grey. You can add as much details if you want, add some bush details if you want. I gave it a rocky look. Thank you so much for watching again. I hope this video was of any help to you. If you like these kind of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Please leave a comment, I'd like to read from you. And yeah, hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye!